Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, and I want to say Shalom to Akhenakwat out there pursuing His truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. And this is another edition of the mini-series titled, A Lot of You Jakes Calling Yourself in the Truth Aren't Even Ready for the End. All right, a lot of you Jakes calling yourself in the truth aren't even ready for the end. And yesterday, we did the first part, which was focusing on addictions, all right, and overindulgence, all right, whether it be in, drinking or, anything really, all right. Drinking, we talked about, cannabis use and all that different type of stuff, and anything, that becomes addiction, like we even mentioned, even sex, all right, in the pursuit of always going and chasing cat constantly. That's an addiction, and that's something that's going to stray you from the path of serving Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, okay, because that's where your mind's at. And in the same manner, really today, all right, we're dealing with focusing too much on things that are not important currently. And in parentheses, we got vanity, materialism, and over-righteousness. All right, so focusing on things that are not important currently. All right, focusing on, how beautiful you are, how many items you have, right? Over-righteousness as far as, or thinking that, I can do everything, right? I can just do it, right? I can keep all 613 laws, right? All those are just as bad, vanity. If we actually, we'll start up actually by going and defining vanity. All right, most people know what it is, but it's always good to get the definitions, even if they seem simple. All right, because there's always edification that can be had. So right here, vanity, it says, is the excessive belief in one's own abilities or attractiveness compared to others. It's not necessarily always compared to others, but vanity. It's constantly worrying about your looks, all right, or being vain, all right. You're so vain, all right. If we go and look up vain definition, and actually what I want to do is I actually want to go and look it up in the Blue Letter Bible and see the Strong's version. So vain here in the dictionary, it says there's two versions, right? And the definition 2 fits number 1 because that's really what it is. So number 1 is having or showing an excessively high opinion of one's appearance, abilities, or worth. You think, it really goes back to pride, all right? And right here, as you can see it, narcissism.
Narcissistic.
No, it says narcissistic, but it's, narcissism, relating to narcissism. What is narcissism?
Narcissism.
An excessive interest or admiration in oneself or one's physical appearance. Vanity, self-admiration, self-absorption, conceit, all right? The opposite would be modesty, all right, which the Bible talks about, all right? If you look up modest, all right, look, first one is actually about women. The 1 Timothy 2:9, it says, in like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array, all right, right here, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works. All right, so let's go and get this actually in the Bible Gateway. So if we go and get these two, all right, 9 and 10 in the Bible Gateway, and we'll actually go and get it in the Amp Bible first. All right, and bear with me. Hey, Google, turn on my light. It's like it. If you look into it, it says women instructed, the Amp Bible. It says, likewise, I want women to adorn themselves modestly and appropriately and discreetly in proper clothing, not with elaborately braided hair and gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but instead adorned by good deeds. All right, helping others. Well, in this case, not helping all these people out in the world, but doing what's right unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, helping brothers and sisters, right? As is proper for women who profess to worship Yahweh. I like that. All right, so it's not about how you look. It's about if you're, you need to be properly adorned with good deeds through Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, you need to be properly adorned with knowledge and instruction. All right, and humility. Okay, not with all these different things. And it's not to say that you can't, all right, braid your hair or have a gold earring or something like that, or expensive clothes, but that's not really important, all right? And that should not be your focus. How fantastic can I possibly look at all given times? You shouldn't look like hell, all right? It shouldn't look like bums, and looks are more important for a woman than it is a man. But as a man as well, you should look decent. All right. Now, being modest does not mean looking like a bum. All right. That doesn't mean you throw on your mustard stained or ketchup stained shirt. All right, with some ripped pants. All right, and some shoes with your toes hanging out. No, you can look nice, but you don't gotta walk out looking like one of those Arab nightclub outfits, right? Arab nightclub outfit, right? Let me see. Arabic, you know the ones with the men, how they go and look, like this. you ain't gotta pop off going and looking like this. All right, you don't gotta do all that. Walking out the house looking like this. All right, no, it's or even like this. This is for prom, but you ain't gotta do all that. All right. This, you ain't got to do all that. You ain't got the suit with the bow tie, with the shiny fancy belt buckle, with the diamond encrusted pants. You ain't got to do all that with 7 gold chains. No, just dress. If you look up casual wear, all right, you look up a nice casual outfit, all right. This is fine. It looks nice. That's casual wear. It's austere. All right. What is austere? All right. Okay, austere. Or austere. It says severe or strict in manner, attitude, or appearance. So strict in appearance as well. And right here at the bottom, it says having an extremely plain or simple style of appearance. Unadorned, basic, simple. All right, modest. Okay, functional. All right, unfussy, uncluttered, just casual. All right, casual wear. What does casual mean? All right, if you look up casual, it says describes actions or clothing or attitudes that are relaxed, informal, or unconcerned. All right, they're lacking a lack of formality, deep commitment, or intense planning. All right, casual, comfortable clothing, jeans. All right, a t-shirt. Right, you don't have to go and wear a blazer at all given time. If you wear a blazer from time to time, that's fine. But again, that's not something that's going to get you into the kingdom. That's not something that's going to Yahweh Shai is going to see and say, oh, I was going to save that guy over there, but he didn't have the blazer. No, that's not how it works. All right, same for these women. Right now, women, you should take care of yourselves. Men, you should take care of yourself as well. A woman's gonna, of course, have more care into herself because women. First of all, all women are vain. To quote Apostle Tahar, all women are vain. All right, and like appearance, and a woman appearance is more of a priority for women. All right, because a man likes a nice looking woman. All right, but that at the end of the day is not anything that's going to get you saved. All right, you can't think, oh, I got to look good or else, the Most High is not going to save me. No, that's the same way if you're looking for a man, you want to make yourself look decent. All right, but once you start getting too overboard, believe it or not, that actually becomes a red flag for men. All right, like you see a lot of these women, like the IUIC women, with the way that they dress. It actually becomes a red flag. And the brothers and apostles of GMS have actually talked about this before. You see those women with those tight-ass head caps. If I saw a woman like this, I'd run like hell away. All right? I would run like hell away. Now, it's not saying you can't wear a head cap as a woman. You should. You're supposed to cover your hair. But, again, we have mercy. You can't be over-righteous. There's going to be certain situations where you can't wear a head cap. Certain times where you're going to wear your hair out, right? But at the same time, the way they dress like this, it's a red flag. This way of dressing is really, it's an outward appearance, because I'd be willing to bet that most of these women, I'm not going to say necessarily any one of these, but a lot of the women that dress like this, they're changed on the outside, but they're not changed on the inside. Mind you, inwardly. All right, let's go and get that scripture. It's Romans 2:29. It says in verse 28, it says, "For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh." See, we look like Israelites. You do, but do you act like Israelites? All right. I'm not talking about saying because I'm an Israelite. I'm an Israelite. No, I'm not talking about shit like that. All right, because that's just shit at the end of the day. Okay, that's nothing that's not bringing forth any edification. Okay, so Romans 29, the next verse, it says, "But he is a Jew which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of Yahweh." Now, it is important in this truth to be, as a man, to be physically circumcised. All right, but what it says here in the scripture is very telling. All right, because you got to use your mind, right? In America, not so much in Europe, but in America, most men are circumcised. All right, they've had their foreskin removed from around their rod. All right. Does that make them holy? Does that make them, walking in the way of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai? No. There's heathens. There's Edomites. All right. These Edomites and small hats, they, get their foreskin removed. Right? But does that make them a Jew? No. All right. Now, like I said, in this truth, if you haven't had it done, you should get it done. All right. Because it is as a holy thing and it's rightful to be done. It's supposed to be done. And you have to have it to be able to partake in Passover and whatnot. But Romans 2:29 makes it evident and clear. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly. You can be circumcised, all right, outwardly on your rod, and you can act like a fucking demon on the inside. There's plenty of people out in Babylon that act like a fucking demon that are circumcised. Okay, plenty. All right, but he is a Jew, which is one inwardly. That's your attitude. All right, your mind. All right, your soul, your spirit. All right. So it says, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of Yahweh. Okay, so, you dress like that. You dress like an Israelite, but do you act like an Israelite? And a lot of those women are some of the most demonic women, all right, that you'd ever meet, okay? That you would ever meet, all right? And, so yeah, man, women, take care of yourself. Men, take care of yourself. Of course, women going to take care of themselves on a little higher level, and that's fine, as they should, because that's a feminine trait, all right? It's a feminine trait. Excessive, beauty, all right? Worrying about beauty, okay? Men don't really worry about beauty. We just make sure we don't look like shit. Make sure we smell nice, have some good cologne on, and we go. We don't have to, oh, my hair isn't exactly perfect. We don't want our hair sticking up, but, we're not going to be on the same level as, like, a woman worrying about her beauty, all right? We're not going to be on that level of, really vanity at the end of the day. But if we go ahead and get this same scripture, let's get it in the Common English Bible. I've been getting a couple of these at the top. So it says, in the same way, I want women, this again, 1 Timothy 2:9-10, but this is in the CEB, the Common English Bible. It says, in the same way, I want women to enhance their appearances with clothing that is modest and sensible, not with elaborate hairstyles, gold, pearls, or expensive clothes. They should make themselves attractive by doing good, which is appropriate for women who claim to honor Yahweh. And this is the same fact, some women out there are worrying, I'm trying to get a man. Well, at the end of the day, if the Lord is going to send you a man of the Lord, all right, you could be the most beautiful woman, or you could be a very plain woman. All right. Or you could be a woman that's not much of a looker in general. All right. And that man would still see you and like you because of your spirit. All right. Not because of your hairstyle, not because of the gold, not because of the pearls, your expensive clothing. All right. But attractive because of the way you serve Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You're a good, honest, humble woman. All right. And those are the traits. All right. And a man looks for those traits. You women out there, looks for those traits before he looks for appearance. A man that's in the right mind. Okay, a man, you're trying to bring in the outside man into the inside man in this ministry. All right, outside, yeah, all they're looking for is bucks, and they're not looking for wives. All right, they're looking for cat on the go. Right, that's what they're looking. Get a little bit here. All right, and then in a couple weeks they'll get someone else. Right, that's all they're looking for. They're not looking to make you a wife. All right, they're looking to make you a every other night. Right, that's what they're looking to make, if it's even other night, right? So, being right in the way of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is first priority. And you might be wondering, well, we're talking about vanity. Why are we focusing on women? Again, because vanity and excessive thought and appearance, why is some men now, but that's because the men have become effeminate, and we've already done a lesson recently on being effeminate as a man. As a woman, that's more of a thing that's going to affect them, is the vanity. All right, a vain man, that's just honestly 9 times out of 10 a really vain man like that's worried about his beauty and his appearance and all that. A lot of times they're a bati boy, all right, a mama man, all right, 9 times out of 10. Okay, not to say you can't trim your beard, keep it nice. Keep your hair nice, smell good, wear some decent clothes if you want to wear a blazer every once in a while, but that's not your top priority. And it's not a woman's top priority either. The first top priority is serving Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and being deemed, like it says, appropriate for women who claim to honor Yahweh, or, justifying yourself before Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and not man, all right? So as the scriptures say, there's a scripture that condemns it here in Luke 6:15. It says, "And he said unto them, Ye are they which justify yourselves before men, but Yahweh knoweth your hearts, for that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of Yahweh." Now, this is really used for example, trying to be likened unto these people out in the world, all right? And, the things that they like, you like those things, all right? Well, a lot of those things that they like are wicked as hell, all right? So you're justifying yourselves before men, all right? We're supposed to be justifying ourselves before Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, all right? What is justify, all right? To make just, all right? To show, to be proved, or right or reasonable. We want to do what's right and reasonable and try to prove ourselves worthy, all right? There's a scripture, I've lost it. This one's good. It's not the one I was thinking of, but this one's fine. Call all Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Colossians 1:10, it says, actually, we got to go from verse 9. It says, "For this cause we also, since the day we heard it, do not cease to pray for you and to desire that you might be filled with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding." Verse 10, "That you might walk worthy of the Lord, unto all pleasing, being fruitful in every work, and increasing in the knowledge of Yahweh." Okay, so and really the homework for you can be, continue to read down, all right, because it's all good. So we're supposed to be walking worthy of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai and doing what's pleasing unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Okay, not men. Okay, not men. So at the end of the day, and that goes for women as well. You're trying to, again, don't look like a bum, because I know I got to explain. Why do you keep on explaining it? Because you got to with Jake, man. You got to with Jake, all right? And it's not, constant repetition as it is like trying to force them to get it. If they'll get it, they'll get it. But just, a woman's going to take care of her looks, all right? A man's going to make sure he doesn't look like a bum. But at the end of the day, it don't matter what you look like, even if you're born ugly, all right? If the Lord's going to have mercy on you, he's going to have mercy on you. If you're a woman, you were born ugly, he can still have you get with a handsome, attractive man of the Lord, all right? Or a regular plain man of the Lord. He might not be the most handsome guy or not, all right? I haven't seen too many ugly people in the truth, or any really. So, but again, it's about the spirit, all right? Not about the physical appearance. And it's the same way with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, all right? It's not about how you look, it's about how you are. All right, a man, all right, 9 times, I'm not talking about the wicked men out in the world. They're just as fucked up in the mind, all right, as anybody else out in the world. But a righteous man is going to be looking for, okay, do they oppose woman and wifely duties? All right, are they do they take care of themselves at least, bare minimum? Cool. Are they a woman of the Lord? Do they pray? All right, do they believe? All right, are they really in it? All right. Did they come into this through another man that they left, or did they come into this because they found out it through some way and they are truly in it for the right reason, not just in it because a man was in it, or because I'm in it? And then, do they, well, really, we saw that with doing things through Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai that are righteous and good, but do they buck up? Are they argumentative? Do they have an issue with male authority? Right, that's another thing we're going to be getting on, because a lot of these women, even in the truth, have an issue with male authority. All right, they don't like male authority, or they don't like the fact that there's going to be multiple wives or heathen wives. They're jealous. They say they're fine with it, but deep down inside, they have an issue with it. They have a bone to pick with it. All right, they say no, all right, no, all right. And a lot of the women, their mind isn't, being weaker vessels, their mind isn't fully persuaded. All right, they think that heathen women or multiple wives in the kingdom, that somehow they're going to be lower and forgotten. All right, and they're going to be jealous. Look, you're going to be completely scrubbed clean. You're not going to have any of that, man. All right, the Lord's going to give you a double wash. All right, you women. So you got to be scrubbed deep. You got to be deep clean, right? And all that jealousy, all right, is going to go away. And the scriptures talk about jealousy, all right, that is jealous of another. Let's go and get that one. It's Ecclesiastes 26:6. It says, "But grief of heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, and a scourge of the tongue which communicateth with all." So, like it says, grief of heart and sorrow, that's misery. Why would you want to do that? All right, and that's regardless if it's in any way. A lot of women are jealous of other women. All right, they have bones to pick with each other. They're jealous for one reason or another. One of the way they walk, one of the way they talk. All right, the way they look, the way they smell, who they have, the amount of money they have. All right, something. All right, there's always something. All right. But anyway, that's a topic for well, really, that's, you know, just a little bonus there. But yeah, so a lot of the women have issues with that. All right. So a man is looking for qualities, like, make sure that's not present. Okay, because if that's present, that's, you know, look, it's just like the same thing with grapes or bread. For example, if you got some bread, all right, and there's mold on it, you got to throw that whole bread out. Some people don't, but you do have to throw it all away, because the mold spores, even if you haven't seen them, are spread through all the bread. All right, just eating the pieces that don't have it is not enough. It's already sick, and if you let that continue to grow, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. It's the same thing. If a woman has that in her, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And there was just a lesson, I haven't watched it yet, but I'll shout it out. It's by Apostle Gabar, you know, the apostle that all the women hate because they don't like how he talks about the truth. All right, this is my personal page, bear with me. What's the thing? Here it is. All right. Here it is. So this is Daily Edification 4. This is the Apostle Gabar. He just made a lesson the other day titled, Why It Is a Good Idea to Remain Single on the Path of Truth. All right, there you go. And I'm sure in that you're gonna have a bunch of, I'm not sure, I'm positive in that lesson you're gonna have a bunch of good information. Okay, you're gonna have a bunch of good information. So anyway, we haven't even got on the topic really too much. We've been doing little mini things and grabbing scriptures elsewhere, which is good because the Spirit's flowing. All right, that's why you can't rush the Spirit. All right, when the Spirit hits, it hits, man. So call all Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai for that. So let's get we don't want to get, so getting back on the topic. All right, we talked about you know, that part, vanity. All right, which really, where were we? I got them in reverse order, but yeah. So let's here we go. These are the vanity scriptures. All right, Proverbs 31:30. It says, "Favor is deceitful." Yeah. Okay. So 30 is fine. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain. We already got what vain means, all right? Feel free to look it up again. Favor is deceitful. Actually, you know what we're going to do? Bible Gateway, all right? Bible Gateway. And let me transfer this over. All right, I'm going to transfer it over to here. Bam. I'm going to get it in the common English. I'm going to get it in. Well, let me see if I pop open another one, if it's the King James. Let me open the King James version up. We'll do it this way so it's easier. Keep it all on, you know, one page. So here's the same scripture. All right, so on the right we have King James version, Proverbs 31:30. It says, "Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised." Right here, I don't like how they well, I mean, you know, they changed it a little bit too much, but Common English Bible says, "Charm is deceptive and beauty fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." Let's go and get the AMP. It says, "Charm and grace are deceptive and superficial." I like that. See, that's why I like the AMP. Superficial.
Superficial.
All right. Existing or occurring on the surface. All right. They're outer. All right. They're outward. All right. Remember, we got the scripture about outward appearance. All right. It's not about outward appearance. Right. It says, "Beauty and superficial beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, reverently worshiping, obeying, serving, and trusting him in awe-filled respect, she shall be praised." I don't even need another translation. Perfect. Heavy hitter. Heavy hitter. All right. 1 Samuel 16:7, one we should all be familiar with unless we're just newly coming in. All right. King James Version. "But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance." We just went into the word countenance not too long ago. Or countenance. It says, "or on the height of his stature." Notice these are all physical attributes. It says, "Because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart." There you go. AMP Bible. "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees, for man's looks are the outward appearance." Or Slakia, "For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Let's go and get this in the CEV. Or the CEB, excuse me. No, let's go and do, that one's good too, but let's do simpler. Let's go the easy to read version. Yeah, this is good. So it says, "But the Lord said to Samuel, Eliab is tall and handsome. It was referring to that, but this goes for anybody, all right, because it's showing you how the Lord, works. It says, it's good that they, if you read up, anyway, it says, but don't judge by things like that. All right, he's tall and handsome, but don't judge by things like that. Yahweh doesn't look at what people see. People judge by what's on the outside, but the Lord looks at the heart. All right, Eliab is not the right man. Okay, so they're not right. All right, just because they look right don't mean they are right. And again, there's a lot of how do I want to say it? There's a lot of looks can be deceiving. All right, as they say. Someone might look good or might look bad, and it changes. All right, your opinion changes because look, the Lord doesn't change, men change. All right, that's the one takeaway you should get from reading your Bible, is that men change, men look at the wrong things. The Lord, all right, does not change and looks at the right things. All right, Romans 2:11, right here it says, "For there is no respect of persons with Yahweh." Now we can go and get that in over here, but actually what I did was I looked up Romans 2:11 meaning, all right, and I did it on Google, and it got it perfect. So let's get Romans 2:11 through here. It says Romans 2:11, "For there's no respect of persons with Yahweh." Now they went off here. It says Yahweh judges everyone the same. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter who they are. All right, it does at the end of the day. But it's more about election and if you're an Israelite or not as as far as if you're big or tall or small or beautiful or ugly. Let's see if we can get another one. Common English. He does have favorites. All right, see that's going on. It says God does not have favorites. Yes, he does. "You of all families have I known." All right, "You have I chose of all families of the earth." Yes, that is favorites. He does not have one person more important than another. He does. All right, Jake is more important, so we're not going to go with that. But Google got it. Romans 2:11 states that there is no partiality. It says there is no respect of persons. But it says in that version, or Yahweh does not show favoritism. In this context, it means that Yahweh judges all people impartially based on their actions and hearts, not on their status. They say ethnicity. That's wrong. Not on their status. Well, in a way that it's wrong and it's not wrong, because it doesn't matter about skin color. It does matter about your ethnic background. All right. It does matter on your father's side, your paternal lineage. All right, because that's how Israel was deemed Israel. All right, back in the day and still this day. All right, you were judged, but you're called by the house of your fathers. Okay, so if he was a Benjamite, you're a Benjamite. If his great granddaddy was a Benjamite, you're a Benjamite. Even all this time now through him. All right, even if he looks like a white man, a Mexican man, an Arabic man, a Chinese man, if his great-great-grandfather was a Benjamite, you're a Benjamite too. All right, on your father's side, your father, right? Not on their status, religious background, to extent, or outward appearance. It highlights that both Jews and Gentiles are equally accountable to Yahweh's righteous judgment. And again, they don't understand Romans 2:11, but there was a little bit to add out of there. All right, you can nibble on some of it and then spit out the bones. All right, there's a little bit too much bone on that, not too much meat. All right, but the scripture by itself is there is no respect of persons with Yahweh. There's no respect of persons. He's not gonna, oh, she's beautiful, I'm gonna save her. That's a simplistic mindset, and the Lord does not have a simplistic mindset. Okay, he's the Lord after all. Okay, so that's what we have with vanity. Boom, that's done with vanity. All right, materialism is the next part. Now, what is materialism? All right, we'll go and look it up. Materialism. Let me grab a drink. So,
materialism.
Okay, a tendency to consider material possessions and physical comfort as more important than spiritual values. There you go. Materialism. All right, you're worried about items in your my stuff. Inside joke. But you're more worried about that than rightly serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, you're worried about your stuff, and I have stuff. You have stuff. We have stuff. We all have stuff. We all have TVs or video game systems and phones and tablets and different things that we like, art supplies or cars, or we have different things that we like, right? But they're not important at the end of the day, all right? And those things are all going to go away, all right? All those things are going to burn up and be destroyed. They're not going to save you. They're not going to persuade you how Hashem Yahushai to help you out. None of that. They're not going to do anything. Essentially, they're all shit, all right? Because they're not going to be able to do anything for you. Now, do we like our keyboards, our computers, our little decorations, our things, cameras, game, whatever? Yes, of course, we like them. All right, we wouldn't have them if we didn't like them. We wouldn't have bought them. Okay, same reason we buy a certain cup. All right, we saw the cup. I like that cup. We buy it. If we didn't like it, we wouldn't have bought it. All right, but that cup has no importance. It has no value. It has no real meaning behind it. All right, the only thing with real meaning is this ministry through Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. That's it. All right, and Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, the Father and the Son themselves. All right, that's it. Okay, that's it. Okay, it's whatever you have material wise doesn't really mean shit, and it's not going to save you. It's not going to help you out any, and so it's really useless at the end of the day. It's something that's used as a pastime. It's something that you pass time with, or something that provides temporary enjoyment while we're waiting out, getting out of this bitch, right? And we have to wait for Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and in doing so, waiting for Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, we just got this the other day, we have to make sure we're ready, all right, for the Lord. All right, really, that's the whole point of this lesson series. A lot of you, Jake, calling yourself in the truth, aren't even ready for the end. You need to be, you be ready, right? You need to be ready, okay? At any time it could happen, right? He's like, wait. No, you don't have time to wait, all right? And again, you're never going to be as 100% as prepared as you want to be prepared, but you can be as prepared as you're going to get through Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. All right. Again, you can only be so prepared. All right. And, we got to just keep on teaching, preaching this ministry. All right. Doing what we're supposed to be doing. All right. As men, women doing what they're doing as women, rightly under Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And that's all we can do. All right. Now, when the shit hits the fan, it's always going to, that flesh is going to be there. Oh, shit. All right. So you're never going to really be 100% in the mind prepared to see what it is that's going to happen, because you've never seen something like that. We talked about that yesterday, right? You can know what a concert is, watch videos of a concert, but until you go to a concert, that's when you finally grasp what a concert is. So we're in Jacob's trouble, but when martial law and the whole New World Order starts trying to get underway, and Esau really keeps brings the hammer down, the mark rolls out, and World War III, then you're really going to feel it, all right? But you can be prepared to a point where once you get in that, you don't freak out. All right, and that's the point where you need to be. And then through there, it's all through Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. He's going to watch over you and guide you. All right, but there's no way to know exactly what it's going to feel like and prepare for 100% to know what it's going to feel like until you're there, because you don't know what it feels like. The scriptures call it as the worst time that ever will be and ever was. All right, ever was and ever will be. So you can't know what the worst time ever is going to be like and feel like and be prepared for what that's going to feel like if no one's ever gone through it before. Okay, but you can have an idea and understanding of it, so when it does kick in, you can be prepared enough. Okay, and again, you always want, you'll always want to, you should be in that constant state of zero satisfaction. All right, always wanting to be more prepared. All right, and always constantly wanting to grow and have more knowledge. All right, that's the mindset to be in. Okay, so again, but you can't, we got to be ready and on the go. And if you're clinging to items, no, my stuff. All right, that's going to hold you back. That's going to be essentially like going to do a stumbling block. All right, and we're going to read about that parable with the rich man. All right, well, not really a parable. It was a real situation. So, Matthew 6 and 9, verse 19. It says, verse 19, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth. This is material items. And that doesn't mean you can't have them. Let's listen to the whole thing first, and then we'll talk about it. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So, let's go back. Verse 19. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth. What is treasure? Okay, everybody should know what a treasure is. Okay? Treasure, all right? items, material items, goods, value. All right. It says treasure, a concentrated hoard of valuable items such as money, gems, precious metals, or figuratively anything that's highly prized or highly praised, anything that's worth a lot to you. Okay. And that doesn't mean lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth. Doesn't mean don't buy anything at all, sit in a house with nothing in it. No, but just understand that those items are temporary. They're not going to come with you. All right. As I once heard a guy said, he says, you never see you never see a trailer behind a hearse. Right? And that's talking for when people die. All right, because when people die, they go to, a different realm. Okay? They go to the spiritual realm. All right? In this case, we're not going to die, Lord one, being part of the elect, Lord one we are. We're the hopeful elect, and we're hopeful that we are a part of that number. We're not going to have a tote, all right, or a backpack or a trailer or a U-Haul getting beamed up with us into the chariot. No, that shit's got to go away, because all those things are rooted in wickedness and vanity and evil. Those are all Esau's creations, right? And well, really Jake's creations that were stolen, but still, we're gonna have different things in the kingdom. That's not to say you're not gonna have a phone or a video game system or something like that. Well, we might very well have versions of those items that are not video games or phones like we know it today, but a higher tech, more spiritual version. All right. The kingdom is going to be highly technological. Okay. Highly technological. Okay. Look at the technology that's within a chariot. All right. You're going to say, well, that's the only technology we're going to have. We're not going to have any technology. I'm sure we'll have technology, but it'll be done in a righteous way. And it won't break. It won't be rooted in wickedness, and it'll work. Right. But those things that we have now are not, what's going to save us, right? You can have them. I always try to double, extra, triple, quadruple explain to Jake that it doesn't mean you can't have items. That doesn't mean you can't go and buy that PlayStation 5 if you got the money for it. That doesn't mean you can't go and buy, that 2 or 3 silver eagles if you got it, all right? Because that's a treasure. Those are gold, silver coins. If you want to buy them, you can buy them, right? But that's not what's going to save you. It makes it more clear in verse 20. It says, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. Because again, all these things break. People can steal them. They can go away, right? Verse 20, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. What's that? That's the understanding of the knowledge and the wisdom of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Preparation, all right? And doing what's right unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. That's spiritual treasure, all right? Learning and growing in wisdom through the Lord, okay? That's the right treasures. You're going to keep those, all right, as you go into the kingdom. All right? You're not going to keep your Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, right? Quote Biggie Smalls. All right? You're not going to keep none of that. All right, your PlayStation 4, 5, all right, or 6 if it comes out. It ain't looking so hot, but yeah, man. It doesn't mean you can't have nice things. It just means that those things aren't going to save you. They don't really have any bearing on you as a person, and they're not going to help you out any, right? They're not going to help you out any. So Matthew 19 and 20 through 24, and this shows you why you don't want to be too attached to items. Like I said, that the brothers and sisters that have been around my page, they, I like collecting old VHS, video games and stuff like that. I don't have the biggest excess collection, but I got a few, and and fragrance and stuff like that. I got a few, all right, and old video game systems, stuff like that. But it never is more important than Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right. If the Lord came down right now and said you got to get rid of that, I just go. Matter of fact, even if he said you can't sell it, he allowed this guy to sell it. If he said just throw that in the trash, I'd throw it in the trash. Would I be like, dang, all right, well, but that's more important. All right, that's more important. I'd be like, dang, okay, well, got to do it. All right, I liked this item, but I don't like it as much as I like Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So this item has got to go. Okay, so verse 20, Matthew 19 and 20, it says, the young man saith unto him, all these things I have kept from my youth up. What lack I yet? So he said to the Lord, he said, I have all these things since I was a child, all these possessions. All right, what am I lacking? All right, and Yahushai said unto him, verse 21, if thou will be perfect, if you want to, fix what you're lacking, all right, if thou will be perfect, go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come follow me. All right, look, that's directly going back into Matthew 6 and 20, okay, about treasure in heaven, okay? Lay it for yourself treasures in heaven. Going back, you see it says that, thou shalt have treasure in heaven. He didn't want treasure in heaven. He wanted treasure on earth. All right. In verse 22, it says, but when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful. He went out of the presence of Yahushua. Why? For he had great possessions. He had too many things. All right. He wanted them. No, I want my stuff. All right. 23. Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, verily I say unto you that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Yahweh. So you'd better, it'd be easier to squeeze a whole damn camel through the eye of a needle. You ever try to get a piece of thread through an eye of a needle? It's hard enough. All right. You get a camel through that, you ain't gonna get a camel through that. All right. You know, basically saying it's almost, it's damn near impossible. All right. For a man that's rich like that to really serve Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and do what's right. All right. And because he's too worried. He's not worried about serving Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. He's worried about serving his own pockets. Right. That's what he's worried about. And that's not the way to be. So there are those. And then finally, we got these last three dealing with over righteousness. All right. See, I don't do none of those, brother. I'm fine. I'm good. I meditate for 3 hours a day. I pray for 7 hours a day, and all the rest of the day, I'm doing lessons and reading my Bible. I don't even eat. I only eat once a week. You're being over righteous, man. All right, not doing all that. Sure, if you can do that, hey, that's fine. That's great. Not a whole not eating every week. That's gonna make you sick. Fasting is good, but that's just gonna make you sick. You can do it every once in a while. I'm sure people have done 1 week fast, but if you're doing it constantly, you're gonna get sick, and you're gonna drop a lot of weight. All right, but you know, if you do all those things, if you're keeping it perfect, then I guess Yahushua has no need to come back because you're perfect. Right? You're perfect. You're basically Yahushua, right? You never went off. You never sin ever. No one ever said. Well, no, you're saying that you're fine. You're perfect, right? You don't. You keep all 613 laws. You know, you never go off. You never work on Sabbath. You sew all your clothes so they're not mixed fabric. Right? You never. You know, you made sure. You know, to get a woman that never ever been with a man. Ever. You know, you did everything perfect, and you watch 7 lessons a day. You make 7 lessons a day, and you do all that. Cool. I mean, if you can do that, that's fine, right? But at the end of the day, that's really leaning towards over righteousness. If you think that all those things are going to grant you any more ability than a man that's in true sincerity, or a woman that's true in sincerity serving Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, but has his shortcomings, all right? And that doesn't mean you're going off constantly, but we all go off, all right? One of the sins, for example, one of the sins is having foolish thoughts, all right? Right here. Proverbs 24:9, it says, the thought of foolishness is sin, and the scorner is an abomination to men. So the foolish thoughts are a sin. So you're going to tell me you've never have a foolish thought? Okay? You never have a foolish thought? You know, I like to beat his ass. Like, you've never had a carnal thought? You've never had a carnal thought ever? Right? You're just perfect in every single way. I guess you don't need Yahushua then. All right, I mean, any day now, Yahushua is going to do a specific drop by just for you on the chariot, because you don't have to go through the rest, because you've already got it all figured out, right? He's going to do a separate side gig just for you, a separate taxi service just with him and the angels to come and swing by and pick your ass up, because you're just perfect, right? You got everything down. No, man, no. You're not perfect. We need Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We sin, we go off constantly. Does that mean we're committing adultery? No. Does that mean we're eating pork willingly? No. And why did I say willingly? Because all this water has pork in it. The drinks have pork in it. Everything. Esau's fucked up everything, man. You know, they actually have Putin actually came out and said, I saw an article on it. He was trying to talk about Gates, kill Gates, I guess, putting human meat in the food supply. So some of this food that we got has human meat in it. All right, and if it's got human meat in it, that's already unclean. You don't think it's got pork in it and bugs and all this shellfish? They already allow a certain amount of bugs in the food. There's only a couple bugs that are kosher: beetles and locusts. That's it. You can't eat no worms. All right, you can't eat none of that. All right. So yeah, man, it's got crushed up rodents and shit in it. Rodents aren't clean. All right, they're unclean. So you better grow your vegetables, and you better, you know, grow your own, you know, raise your own calves, and, you know, do all that. See, we don't have that ability. Okay, that's why we have to have the mercy of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. We have to have the Lord's mercy because we can't be perfect, man. And look, if we could be perfect, then that would make Yahushai's death in vain. All right, that means he died for nothing. All right, so, you know, and that doesn't mean, oh, see, we're under grace, we can go willingly sin as much as we want. All right, let's not make his death in vain. Let's really get in and sin. No, man, that's a wicked way as well. Look, do it to the best of your ability. We're rehearsing the righteous acts. All right, do it to the best of your ability. You're not going to be perfect. Sometime you're going to have to buy on Sabbath. Is the Lord going to kill you because you bought on Sabbath this day and age? No, he's not going to kill you because you bought on Sabbath. That's grace. That's mercy. The boss said, oh, you got to come in today. We have nobody else. You're going to lose your job. Are you going to die because you worked on Sabbath? No, the Lord's going to have mercy on you. All right, he said he would. Would he lie? All right, would he lie? He would not lie. No, he would not lie. Okay, so there's certain things like that we just can't help. All right, we can't buy all of our clothes 100% cotton. I was gonna buy just one 100% cotton shirt just because I wanted to, because of higher frequency levels on it. And you can look that up, and that's one of the reasons why it says you shouldn't wear in the Bible, you know, not wearing a garment of of mixed fabrics. All right, because when you have cotton by itself, it vibrates at a higher frequency than the body. All right, but when you mix it, all right, it's at a lower frequency. If you mix cotton and wool or cotton and poly, all these mixed with anything, it lowers the frequency to lower than the body, which lower than the body, lowering than the living body would be equal to death. So you have a death frequency on you. And I have that on me right now because of the clothes I'm wearing. None of these are 100% cotton, and you have that as well. You have that as well. All right, especially with your drawers. All right, your undergarments. All right, because guess what? Are your boxers, are they drawstring? No, they ain't drawstring. All right, and guess what? Original medieval, if you look up medieval underwear, let's try to see. Here's medieval lingerie. You see how they had little strings here? All right, they had to be tied, all right, and in a knot and a bow. And the reason for that is because they didn't have elastics and polymer. Look, here's a pair of medieval underwear. See? Do your boxers have this on it? No, they don't. You might have some pajamas that have it, and those pajamas that have it, they're still, guess what? They're still not 100% cotton. But your boxers ain't got this. Right around this, you have a waistband that keeps it snug to your waist. And you know what that is? Mixed fabric, because the rest is polyester or cotton or whatever, and that's a whole bunch of mixed fabric in there to cause that. So yeah, you know, you better free ball it. You better go commando every single day, and you better wear some pajamas that are 100% cotton with a drawstring, looking crazy. All right, you better do that. All right, better get you a 100% cotton shirt while you're at it too, and you know you got to have the socks. Look, man, Ecclesiastes 7:16. Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. Why shouldst thou destroy thyself? You know, doing all that, it's gonna bug you out. All right, you're gonna be bugged out. It says, be not over much wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldst thou die before thy time? There you go. And those the primary ones right there. I don't know why I brought up 20, but actually through 20, there's 20 is what I wanted to get, but skipping down to 20, Ecclesiastes 7:20 says, for there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not. So you ain't good. You ain't good. All right, 100%. No, you ain't. All right, not like we should be. All right, no. All right, that's why Yahushua has to come back. All right, we have to be putting those spiritual bodies. All right, bodies 2.0, 3.7.0. Right, we got to be in those. They're in their celestial hybrid bodies. All right, they're half man, half spirit. All right, half celestial. Right, there's like the bodies that Yahushua has. All right, they're able to, for example, the chariots, all right, the UFOs, all right, as the world calls them, are highly radioactive. All right, a human body would die in that. All right, but in the spiritual body, the spiritual celestial bodies that look like flesh but are not really truly in flesh can withstand that, because while they look like flesh, they are celestial in nature. Right, and you cannot harm a body that's celestial in nature. Like Esau is going to try to stab you. We're not going to feel it. That shit's just going to bend the knife. You know they're going to try to do that in the kingdom because, they're going to keep their pride. All right? They're going to keep their pride even in their captivity. Okay? So, the apostles were talking about that not too long ago. You're not ever going to be able to break them. Okay, Esau, you're never going to be able to break. And ultimately, that's another reason why they're going to have to. There's so many reasons, but that's another reason why they're going to have to gather in the pit and burn. All right, to never return as a nation again. All right, pull them out by the roots, is because they're never going to change. The heathen nations, they will eventually change. They'll be calling on the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai under command. They will be forcefully converted. All right, to our religion, all right, through Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. And they're going to have to worship Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. They're going to have to take part in the feast days, because if not, guess what? The Lord's going to smite them with a series of plagues that get worse and worse each time they refuse to go. All right, and they'll be able to eventually change. All right, they'll be able to be broke. All right, but Esau will not. All right, they're going to be on a low estate and still be being proud. You're going to be here in this perfect body, and Esau is going to be on that field, and you're going to have to beat him constantly and whoop him into shape, because he's still going to think he's better than you. All right, even though he sees what you have, he's still in his low estate, smelling like doo-doo, looking like shit, looking like hell, stinking wood-woos ass, hairy ass, red state that he's in the kingdom, going back to how he's going to be looking. All right, is still going to think he's better than you. So there's no way you're going to be able to break them. All right, that's why, and we don't want them to be able to broke either. We want them to keep that same pride. All right, because y'all got a lot of hell to pay, man. Y'all got a lot of hell to pay for what you did to us. All right, through Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. We ain't gonna do it now. Don't worry. They're getting violent. No, we're not. No, not now. All right, we're gonna do it once your kingdom's over and Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is in rule, which according to you is never gonna happen. So you can say it's all just a fairy tale and it's never gonna happen, right? So there, you can sleep well. All right, it's never gonna happen. It's a fairy tale. There you go, Esau. See, that can help you be comforted at night. You can think that. All right, I can think the grass is chrome. All right, and I can think the sky is red. All right, I can think the sky is green. Doesn't mean that it's true. All right, I can say that water tastes like beer. Doesn't mean it's true. So you can say that that's not going to happen. Doesn't mean that's not going to be true. So, but if you need to lie to yourself, go on ahead, Esau. You lie about everything else, might as well lie to yourself. So again, Romans 3:23, for we have all sinned and come short of the glory of Yahweh. I didn't get this one, but yeah, Romans 3:23, for we have all sinned and come short of the glory of Yahweh. There you go. Yeah, man. So we've all gone off. All right, we've all come short of the glory of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. We're all not perfect. All right, so we have to have mercy. All right, you can't be over righteous and I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna keep everything perfect. You're not. You're not. Ephesians 2:4-9. But yeah, excuse me. Ugh, that's Satan, right? As soon as I'm trying to say the Lord's name. Ephesians 2:4, it says, but Yahweh, who is rich in mercy, for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, hath quickened us together with Hamashiach. By grace ye are saved. All right, that says, and hath raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in Hamashiach Yahushai, that in the ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace, those are the riches we're looking for, and his kindness towards us through Hamashiach Yahushai. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of Yahweh. It's not anything we can do or buy, or it's the gift of Yahweh. You either get it or you don't, right? And we're hoping that we get it. It says, not of works, lest any man should boast. And you already see that with IUIC. They're not even being saved through works, and they're already boasting. The laws, the statutes, and the commandments. You can't keep it. Not 100% perfectly. All right. Now you should, offend less. All right. That's the we can get that. Right. Ecclesiasticus 17:25, return unto the Lord and forsake thy sins, make thy prayer before his face, and offend less. We're not just willingly sinning it up, but there are times we're going to be, like it says, fall short of the glory of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. And we feel bad about it. We feel remorseful about it. There's times where we do it and we're like, man, I keep on, just falling short, and we should be our harshest critics. All right. And that, again, don't say, oh man, I just keep on using heroin. No, that's not what it's talking about. I want to say they're smaller sins, but they're not that. All right, man, I just keep on killing. No, it's not that. All right, keep on having foolish thoughts, stuff like that. All right, not saying they're lesser sins, because no sin's lesser. It's still a sin. It's still wickedness. Okay, so I'm not going to diminish something that's bad, but they're not on the level of murder or adultery or homosexuality. Just, nothing like that. Nothing like that. You can't come back from those things. All right? You can't come back from those things. You come in the truth and you start doing those things, you're done. You're done. So yeah, man. So going back, a lot of you Jakes calling yourself in the truth aren't even ready for the end, because a lot of you are focused on materialism, vanity, over righteousness. All right, you're see, Lord. Lord's gonna come back here. You think you're ready for the end? See, Lord, look, I kept all 613. I'm perfect. Cool. I never knew you. You weren't part of the elect. All right, scoot over anyway. This guy over here that was off on the street, he used to have a heroin addiction. Yeah, I'm choosing him. But Lord, I kept all the law. I told you it wasn't by works, didn't I? But Lord, I did. I said it wasn't by works. All right, that's what's gonna happen with you, man. All right, that's what's gonna happen with you. It's not about works. He's gonna have mercy on who he's gonna have mercy on. All right, and your materialism ain't gonna help you. All right, well, please, Lord, I got this Xbox. Can I get on now? No. But Lord, I'm so beautiful. Look at me. No. Next. Give me that plain woman over there. I chose her. But she's ugly. She's one of mine. All right, be gone, you harlot. All right. None of those things are gonna help you. None of those things are important. You're focusing on those things, and those things are not important currently, or ever, really. I'm just gonna remove currently. All right. Focusing on too much on things that are not important, vanity, materialism, and over righteousness. It's just a waste of time, waste of space, and just, yeah, man, just don't do it. All right. If you have the ears to hear, don't do it. If you can receive it, receive it. All right, through Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. It's not worth it. It really isn't worth it. So that's where we're gonna close out. Lord, what was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Rakakwadash, Barak the Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Rakakwadash. Want to enunciate it a little bit more. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We are almost out of here. Lord willing, until next one. Shalom.